Hello, and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, a podcast where me and my co host
Me, Dan, hi.
take a subject each week and, well, cast some views. Can be anything from something that we're interested in, something that's happened in the news, just general chit chat, really. We are a week late just due to some personal issues, but I can advise that we are both well now, fighting fit, and we're back. So we hope you didn't miss us too much.
As fighting fit as we ever were.
Yeah. That's not a lot to be said saying that we're back fighting
Yeah,
fit.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, this episode that we've picked is going to be all about fads. So kind of school crazes, I guess,
yeah.
is one way that we kind of framed it. But just prior to getting into the episode, we've just got a message from some of our podcast friends.
Yes, we do, Lou. And this week it's from the Just in Time podcast. So it's run by a couple of guys called Justin and Carter. And again, they pretty much talk about all sorts of topics. But something I think we should introduce into ours, they also drink beers and answer questions. So I
Yeah.
kind of like the drink beers. So let's hear from them now.
We were looking for a laid-back comedy show that covers current events, beer reviews, and movie reviews. We couldn't find one, so we made the damn thing ourselves. The Justin in Time Show. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts.
And we're back.
Right. So, fads. I think we were going to start off and kind of go along the principle of school fads and that sort of thing. I figured maybe if we wanted to run this chronologically.
Oh, here we go.
So obviously, being the one of the two that was born first, I thought I'd let you kick off with one of yours, and then maybe at some point we might have some crossover.
Yeah, yeah, possibly. I mean, so again, sort of fads, crazes, and collections. I think fad and craze are pretty much the same thing. So again, me being me, I kind of wanted to see what the actual definition was. So a fad is an intense and widely shared enthusiasm for something, especially one that is short-lived. And a craze is an enthusiasm for a particular activity or object which appears suddenly and achieves widespread but short-lived popularity. Now, not necessarily all of these are going to be short-lived, but I think here in the UK, I think for me it was something that came along, and it's for me that kind of comes out of nowhere. And some of these I'm not even going to remember how I kind of got into them. Do you know what I mean? Because it was so long in the dim and distant past. But kind of the ones that stood out. Now, I could probably go into a load of little things, and I would probably say I've got quite an addictive personality anyway. So if I get stuck into something, I almost want to get everything of it. Just an example, when I read Jurassic Park for the first time, the book, right? I wanted to read, and I did read literally everything else by Michael Crichton because I thought I love I love this author. I will do it. So yeah, so I think I'll probably try to stay away from a lot of the things. One of the unusual ones I remember was, have you heard of the Garbage Pail Kids?
Garbage Pail Kid rings a bell, but couldn't say that I would be able to picture them.
I think it's very, very American. So our friends over in the States should no doubt know about this. So do you know about the Cabbage Patch dolls or the
Yeah,
Cabbage Patch?
yeah. Huge thing here at one point, weren't they?
Yeah, so you can kind of see where the Garbage Pail Kids went. So they were like trading cards or stickers and trading cards, but they featured different characters, but they were all we'll say they're children, but they're all very unusual children. They had different mutations or abnormalities or dark, eerie vibes to them. For example, I wrote down a few of the ones I remembered. You had a kid called Adam Bomb, and basically it was a kid pushing a nuclear button and there was an explosion coming out of his head. You had Junkie Jeff. Again, it was a kid like had the top of his head missing, and it was full of rubbish and like fish bones and that. And there was a cat, I think, eating out of his head. JDK, which was a zombie kid who was climbing out of a grave. And the only other one I think I remember was called Nerdy Norm, who was a kid basically had cigarettes behind his ears and was actually smoking a cigarette in the car. So, and I think I remember I was looking, then I started looking. I think you've got Bad Breath Seth, Armpit Brit, who I think was supposed to be like this young girl with like loads of hair coming from her armpits. Horny Hal, Wrinkled Rita, Pilled Paul, Bony Tony, who I think was a skeleton. So you can see they were very much the opposite of the cute, cuddly. And I think I said upon its release, there was absolutely no question to public that these cars were poking fun at the Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, I don't necessarily remember how I got into them or why I got into them, but I just remember loads of people did like this because they were so I don't think you could have them now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm actually Googling some as we speak. I don't know if have you still got any of your Garbage Pail
Oh
kids?
no, I don't think I've got anything from when I was a kid. That's a shame.
Well, because I've actually just stumbled across an article talking about how valuable they are.
Oh, well, of course I don't have them then. No.
Yeah, like estimated in a PSA 10, 7,500. Nasty Nick,
Oh,
unbelievable.
nasty Nick. That was this. Is he the one with the cig? No. Which one was that?
He's like a vampire
That's
with
right.
what looks like a Barbie doll or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Adam Bomb is the second most expensive. From what I can see, they were just trading cards type thing.
Yes, you'd buy a pack of I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. So kind of like our, which I'll come on to later, are kind of like our football stickers, or
Right. Okay.
or what is it, match attacks now? So you'll probably be able to speak more about that. But yeah, yeah, they were just cards. And I don't think you got anything else in them, like gum or anything. Could be wrong, but I think again, what appealed to me about them was they were just very twisted.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Looking at
are.
them, I can't believe how twisted they are actually.
Yeah. I'm seeing one Junkie Jeff.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, that's one I mentioned. I think you might have seen the article. When you scroll down, have a look at Nerdy Norm with the cigarettes, and you just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like smoking like 8 cigarettes, bottles of Coke and coffee everywhere.
But it's something you mentioned in one of our other podcasts. It may have been about wrestling. About these were aimed at kids, right? And I think it may have been in wrestling where you said the storylines weren't for kids at the time.
Yeah, 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 that's it.
This wouldn't happen now. You wouldn't get these cards now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at them, I mean, they teachers had a problem when we collected football stickers at school. So I cannot imagine how many of these would have been confiscated. I mean, I don't know if stuff like that happened. Did you get them confiscated at school? What was like your policy back then?
I think I don't think I really brought them into school, but again, I just think when you see them from far glance, they are just like comic-y pictures, aren't they? Cartoony pictures. So I think as long as you were smart, it wasn't going to be a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Fry and Brian, and it's a picture of a childlike character being electrocuted on an electric chair.
That's.
What on earth?
I think if I remember right, I think kind of like not the controversy, but I think the owner or the manufacturer of the Cabbage Patch Kids did either sue them or attempt to sue them. So I think they stopped doing them the way they were to make fun of them and changed the design. But I think after that they just weren't as popular. And I think it's because kids just want the twisted stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they were actually produced by Tops.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're a huge, huge card manufacturer. Even now, they do like the match attacks and all that sort of thing, the chrome packages. But I've had a look as well, and I've seen people like selling them on like eBay now, like entire collections.
Oh, so you can still buy them. How much?
Well, I don't think you could buy them new, but I know that people are selling them online.
Okay, and how much are they on? Oh, what did you say? Like entire collections?
Yeah, so like there's packs of them, and there's like chrome sets that have been released, probably throwbacks, but yeah, I guess it depends card to card what you'd be looking for. So name and number, some of them are going for like £4 each, just on I imagine the generic ones.
I mean, without remembering them all though, and like I said, I'm probably remembering it with a slight what's the word? Nostalgic view. All I know for a fact is you wouldn't be able to have these now.
Yeah, having a look at them, and I'd implore you to go online and have a look if you're listening to this. But yeah, some of them seem very, very to the mark, stroke beyond the mark for what I think you could ever get away with releasing now.
And actually, I'm just going to send you a link. I found one while we're talking. I'm just looking at some, right? First one is called Slain Wayne, and it's a guy. Well, it's a guy. It's a baby basically in a firing line. He's in a firing. He's blindfolded. You got one called Juicy Jessica, which is basically I don't know if Juicy Jessica is the plant that's eating the child, or Juicy Jessica was the child that's just been eaten. So can you see them
I
now?
think that's the
Yeah.
I think that's the child that's just been eaten. I don't know. Yeah, there's like a skeleton.
Yeah, I mean, look at number 4, Pilled Pool. I mean, these are actually twisted now. Oh my God! Scroll down to Melting Milton. I mean, oh my God, these are good at terrifying me now. At the time, they didn't terrify me, but actually now, I actually can't believe these were these were a thing.
Oh yeah, Milton's a little bit twisted. Unbelievable.
Seriously, scroll down and look at Parma John, number 18. Is a kid grating his arm onto his spaghetti. I mean,
Oh my god.
like I said, I really doubt these are still going. But if anyone's got any recollections of Garbage Pail Kids, please don't remind me because now I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. So
They are a little bit twisted, to be fair. It is weird as well that a big company would, like I said, like Tops would have released a range like this. But I guess they wanted to bank on the fad, I guess, didn't they? So,
yeah,
and do you know what it is with younger people as well? You always like something that's a little bit alternative to what like the
exactly.
mainstream's getting into. So it was always, in fact, going to be a winner, wasn't it?
Exactly. And, and I think that's why I've kind of put it in as a fad because I think it was something just to capitalize. It's almost like, now you get those, I won't even call them B movies. They're like JHK movies that rip off like a mainline film and you have to get
Yeah.
like the Sci-Fi Channel or something. It's almost like that. They pump them out within like a few months of the film coming out just to cash in on it. And that's kind of what I get these are. And I think that's why I've included it in here. Like I said, I don't know how long they lasted, but for me, I think it was short-lived because once you've seen them, that's it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think it's specifically an 80s thing. I can't see any reference to them being much later than that. But evidently, I think there was a Chrome set that was released, and that's something Tops do, which are like special edition, like more rare, basically. And you can get like ones that are one of 5 ever produced and that sort of thing. So, yeah, there must still be a market
Oh
for
God, I
them.
shudder. I shudder to think what would have been on those.
Well, you know what? Again, to anyone listening, if you do have any Garbage Pail Kids sat in your loft or whatever, it might be worth pulling them out to see if they're worth any money.
If you do have them, let us know which ones you've got. If you've got kids, would you let your kids collect those now?
Amazing.
Because the thing is, if you look through some of them are actually quite fun.
Yeah, some of them are actually all right. To be fair, I mean, like the Evil Eddie one is literally just like a kid dressed as Dracula, basically. So it's not horrific, but some of them, are pretty grotesque. Do you know what? Do you know what went through my mind as well? Is like the creativity of the design department that must have done it. Like what went through their heads? They were just like, right, okay, Cabbage Patch Dolls making a lot of money. How can we make Cabbage Patch Dolls 18 plus?
Yeah, but sell them to like 12.
Do you know what? They must have had just a pot of letters and names in the thing, and they would have pulled them out, and they would have been like, "Okay, Murderer Mike,"
Yeah.
and they would have been.
I think whoever was designing them, I think there was a lot of smoke in the room. Or they went into the video nasty market of the 80s, which was
Did you have any other like twisted ones or like inappropriate ones?
no, I don't think I did. I mean, I'm sure there was probably a lot of stuff that's unsuitable now. It's probably mainly all the stuff that goes into the toys that are probably banned now, the chemicals or the paints and stuff that were in the toys. No, I thought what I did do was just look at. So I didn't collect these, but because these were ripping off the Cabbage Patch Kids, I thought I'd have a look at those because I did remember that those were like a massive craze, and there was quite a lot of stuff that goes on. So the Cabbage Patch Kids were, yeah, dolls. I think they had plastic heads and no hair, and I can't remember if they actually did come like wrapped in a fake cabbage. I'm not sure. And they were the early 80s. But what I did see, there was a thing I found on Wikipedia called the Cabbage Patch Riots, right? So it's got an entry. There were a series of violent customer outbursts at several retail stores in the United States in the fall and winter of 1983. That year, the Cabbage Patch Kids had been released for sale, causing a tremendous demand for the product. Most stores at the time typically only stocked between 2 and 500 of the product, yet with thousands of customer surges, many fought with other customers in order to obtain one of the products. The holiday season of 1983 saw several violent occurrences in such major retail stores such as Sears, JCPenney, Wards, and Macy's. And I actually said the riots inspired the plot of Jingle All the Way. So we've got a throwback to our Christmas episode here, right? And this is what reminds me of that as well, was in smaller retail stores such as Kmart, they attempted to control crowds by handing out purchase tickets to the first several hundred customers, leaving hundreds, if not thousands, empty-handed after standing in line for several hours. And the final bit on this, sorry, the reports of violence included hitting, shoving, trampling, as well as some customers attacking others with handheld weapons such as baseball bats in order to obtain a Cabbage Patch doll. Right.
Amazing. Do you know what it was, right? It's like I feel like I don't picture this ever happening today because I feel like toys like that don't have as much of a market anymore. But that's amazing to think the dedication of the parents, they'd go tooled up to a toy shop.
For a doll.
for for like a $10 or 10 quid like piece of plastic. It's
Well,
mad, isn't it?
it's supposed to be something that's nice and friendly, you know, it's child friendly, and yeah, like you said, you're going tooled up like Tony Soprano or something, you know.
It's well funny because when people went to buy Cabbage Patch Kids, they actually turned into Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there we probably got the what's the word? The idea where it came from now.
Yeah, maybe the pictures on all of the Garbage Pail Kids are just instances of what parents did to other parents.
I think probably the Cabbage Patch Kids are still going now, so I'm not necessarily calling them in itself a fad or a craze, but the way they were introduced. So the fact that there were these riots, and
Yeah, yeah.
I think that for me is what fits in there perfectly. The only other thing, and before we hand over to you, was probably from the 80s, so just before you. And again, I kind of put Rubik's Cube, right? Because I know we've still got Rubik's Cube, but I think when it first came out, it was quite short-lived, but really it burnt really brightly. So I think the Rubik's Cube came out, if not late 70s, I think it came out early 80s. But they were saying, as most people could only solve one or two sides, and I was lucky to probably just do the one side, right? A load of books came out on how to solve it, right? And it says here that at one stage in 1981, 3 of the top 10 best-selling books in the US were books on how to solve the Rubik's Cube, right? And the best-selling book of 1981 was a book on the simple solution to Rubik's Cube, which sold over 6 million copies. But already by October the following year, sales had fallen and the craze had died. So, you know, so it feels like it was something that came on really quickly. But, you know, over the years they reiterated, don't we? So you had loads of other things. You had circular Rubik's cubes. You had this weird one that I broke within about 5 minutes. It was like flat squares, and you folded them over, and they were connected by a string. And I think I managed to bend it the wrong way and broke it. So that wasn't a great toy for me.
Yeah, you even have like 9x9s and 10x10s and that sort of thing now, but there's still like world championships for
Yeah.
like the world's fastest like Rubik's Cube solver.
Yeah, I think it's come back massively now because of the competitions. I mean, the only way I did it was literally I used to bust them apart and put them back together in the right order.
Peel the stickers off.
Well, no, I went more destructive. I think my anger got so much. Yeah, you'd literally, if you jabbed a pen or a pencil in it, you could basically, you had one, the center block on each one would stay, but you'd then just fit the others in, and I would just fit it back in the right order.
You take it and show whoever you saw next, be like, I did it.
Yeah, you just have to hold on to it really tightly because all the times you've pulled it apart, it's just loosened all the grip on it.
Well, you know what, as well, I think there's actually a reference to it in The Pursuit of Happiness, isn't there?
Oh, do you know what? I don't think I've seen that film.
Yeah, so in The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith's character is gets in a cab with like an investor, like stockbroker, and the guy's fiddling about with a Rubik's Cube, being like, "This thing's impossible," and it's only been out for 6 months in the plot of the film. And he's like, "I can do it, I can do it." He's like, "No, you can't." But again, the fact that they've used that as a reference to that film just goes to show how it must have been humongous at the time period that everybody wanted one. But there was reference as well in the film to turning around and saying, "Oh, there's only been one person that solved it yet so far."
Well, the thing is, right, look at it. It's so simple. It's a cube, but it's colourful, so it's eye-catching.
Yeah.
It's tactile, and there's that challenge about no, it must be possible, and it is possible. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but and I think we mentioned it probably in our world record episode. There's a documentary on Netflix, and I've seen some of it. I haven't seen all, but like these guys are solving it in like 3 seconds, something like that. Crazy. They're doing it blindfolded. They're doing two at a time.
Yeah, blindfolded two at a hard time behind the back.
I've seen a guy, he's juggling them and he's solving them as he's juggling them.
I've seen
I mean,
that bloke as well.
I mean, way to rub it in. I just want to, I just want to do one without busting it apart, and you're juggling 3 or 4, fixing them. Do you know? So I kind of put Rubik's Cube down, yeah, purely because of that, because I think it did burst on the scene really quickly. And everyone I knew was infatuated. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing that sound of the clicking of the sides turning. Do you know what I mean? Those bloody squares, colour squares will haunt me forever because I just couldn't do them. You do a side, you do 2 sides, but then when you go for the third, you'd have like then like I don't know, like a green square in the middle of your yellows, and you just throw it down.
That one's quite a good one as well, because I had Rubik's Cubes when I was younger, but obviously that's just because, I feel like everybody had a Rubik's Cube at some point. And when you think about it, Rubik's Cubes are probably a fad that have been going for absolutely ages, because again, there's still things that you can just pick up in any like any shop, any kind of toy shop, really, aren't they?
But I remember they used to do it was like that quick mass market. You could buy mini ones, so like key rings on a key ring.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like the just that attention stealer. Oh, I've got a few minutes. But you could pick up a little thing that stick on a keyring and just play about with that in your spare time. Do you know what I mean? But it's still that addictive quality, I think.
Yeah, I guess what's happened is like the fact that you've got a mobile in your hand nowadays is just giving you the ability to do puzzles on your phone. Because like, I've got a few puzzle games on my phone that I just do. Do you know, you sat on a train or you're in a car, like it's just something you skip to, isn't it? I guess back then,
Yeah.
you would have just taken a Rubik's Cube with you.
Yeah, portable gaming.
Yeah, it was. It was a portable game, way before the PSP.
Yeah, handheld.
See, that's the only thing. They didn't register your game time, so you didn't need to feel guilty.
Yeah, and you could throw them across the room and not break them as well, though. That's a How about you? What about you?
Right, now mine's going to come from my school time, and these are wholly inappropriate. And I've actually got a Vice article about them. So they were literally called shag bands.
Who?
Shag bands.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, when I was much younger at school, I think it was probably secondary school, so I was probably about 12 or 13 at the time. There was a trend of people wearing like these multicolored bracelets, and they were sold on the premise of being, and I'm putting my fingers in quotation mark here, shag bands,
Yeah.
and each color represented something that you had to do. So typically they were worn by girls, and if you snapped one, the color corresponded to like a sexual act. Right? So basically, the rule, I mean, technically the rule, again, all in quotation marks here, was that if a boy snapped one, you and that boy had to do whatever the color corresponded to.
So when you say snap it, you mean you had to pull it, and if it actually
Yeah,
broke,
like
sorry, not...
like break it basically. So
Right.
I've actually got a Vice article because when we were talking about this episode, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what was a stupid fad at school that like is like an unbelievable thing now? And this was the one that stood out to me. So in the Vice article, it starts with a picture of a woman holding up, holding up the shag band code, and this is the the key for what color represents what thing. So yellow is hug a boy, orange is a love bite, purple is a snog,
Oh, this is escalating.
pink is flash your boobs,
Oh my word.
red is a lap dance, blue is oral,
Jeez.
black is going all the way, and gold is all of the above. Oh my god. And I can't tell you the storm that came about at school when like teachers found out what these things were. I mean, obviously none of this ever happened because it was one of those bullshit things that was just a school thing, but honestly, it was really weird.
I mean, I remember even for me as a kid, you had these things. You tried to pretend you were older than you were, but these things never actually happened. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
just, it
yeah,
was a bit
yeah.
bravado. But yeah, you wouldn't have that now. I mean, that's outrageous.
I know, and I remember at one point, like teachers then became really, really aware of what people were wearing on their wrists and would have them confiscated. But from what I remember, like the whole principle was that, like, if you put them on, like if you put like the black one on, for instance, where again the shag band code says go all the way, it meant that you were like the bravest because you were willing to wear it at the risk of someone breaking.
Oh my word.
Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they were a very, very quick thing. And I think that's because schools got onto them.
Is that what they were made for, or were they just used by that? And it was so basically, was it like a playground made up game, or was it actually that's how they were marketed?
No, so basically at first there was basically like a fad of wearing, do you know, like plastic bands with like charities and
Yeah,
stuff on
yeah,
them.
yeah.
There was like a fad where loads of people would wear them, and I think it was Live Strong wristbands, like the charity spin-offs, that sort of thing. And then I think it was Claire's Accessories and Nude Agents were basically selling like gel bracelets.
Yeah, yeah.
But apparently the year before they came to the UK, they had become known as sex bracelets in America.
Right.
And loads of American schools had already banned them, and like newsletters were put out to parents and all of that sort of thing. But then eventually the trend reached the UK, and yeah, that's where it took
America
off.
corrupting our kids again.
Here we go. This is Vice. In a 2005 study, nearly 2/3 or 60% of 15 to 19-year-olds said the wristbands signaled their owner's sexual preference and availability.
I mean, even now, I mean, that's actually quite shocking, right? If that's what like the game
That is
invokes.
horrific. At the time, people would rampage around the playground, snapping wristbands or cutting them as a joke. Questions were raised. If you broke your own wristband, did that have to mean you had sex with yourself? What if you didn't have sex with a person? What punishment would you receive? Yeah, and then here we go. In 2009, the whole after it had all started, newspapers caught on, and according to the Sun, this brilliant headline. This was part of a terrifying wave of promiscuous behaviour. A 12-year-old girl told the paper a gold band is the most important and means you have to do all of the above. They're pretty rare, so if you find a gold band in a shop, you have to get your mum to buy it.
Hold on,
What
hold
on
on.
earth is going on?
Hold on, this was the Sun, right? That up until only a few years ago would have a naked, a topless woman on page 3, right?
Yeah,
And
this is also true. It's
and
ironic, isn't it?
yeah, and they would often go for like get them when they were like 17, I think, or 18. So yeah, the moral standards there, right?
It's just, do you know what it is? It's just brilliant. Literally turning around and like the newspapers having to report on it. So this is the Daily Mail, and again, this is only the article because I'm reading it off of Vice, so they're referencing all of these people. But
Yeah, yeah.
the Daily Mail said it is their name that causes alarm bells to ring. Shag bands. Each colour denotes a physical act, from a hug or a kiss to showing body parts to other acts that would make many adults blush. Imagine them trying to explain it, like that article coming across their desk and being like, "We've got a report on this."
Yeah, it's like when you first started reading them out, I thought, oh, this seems nice. It's kind of like just like an accessory version of Love Hearts, you know, those sweets. You know, hug me, babe, love you, shag me. You know, show us. I mean, no, it escalated quite quickly on these bands. Yeah.
Here we go. The MP for Wakefield called for under 16s to stop buying them. So MPs got involved in this as well. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, like I said, I don't remember them lasting very long. They were about, but I think as soon as everybody caught on, basically they were pulled up by teachers pretty much immediately. But again, it was a stupid fad that was all a bit like you said about like posturing and making yourself look older than you were, I guess.
Yeah, but again, you can kind of see why they were stamped down on because it is yeah, it's a bit wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
It's
what
a
I
lot
mean. When
wrong.
you
It's a lot wrong.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It was just a very weird trend, and like I said, when I was thinking about this, I was just thought back to my school days because obviously, like fads, everybody get jumps on trends and that sort of thing, and that was by far the weirdest one.
Yeah, no, like I said, never heard of them. Yeah, bizarre. And
Very, very
and
weird.
the thing is, getting something with the intention that then people are going to try break it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like, sorry, what are you paying for exactly?
You might as well just wrap a bit of paper around your wrist and colour it in the one you want, because I'm not, paying money to have somebody try break them.
Well, I think that's what it was. I think that the intent needed to really be there because there were like these plasticky material things. But yeah, like I said, it was weird. It was kind of reserved for kids that were just like badly behaved at school as well, and I guess kind of wanted to like buck the trend of like continuing like bad behavior, I guess, if that makes
But
sense.
yeah, I mean, we could have a whole other thing on this, but it is bizarre because I mean, I don't know if they were around when you were a kid, but like when I was a kid, you used to have candy cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and some of them even had like the end of them, the tips were like coloured red to look like they were lit as well. And you would sit there pretending you were smoking a cigarette, and it's like these were sweets for kids.
Yeah, I think candy sticks as well were a thing that were banned at school because again, people would just like imitate like smoking with them, and so that was obviously something that schools didn't like. But I didn't know that they were actually designed like cigarettes
Yeah,
originally.
yeah, they were done like cigarettes, yeah.
That's mad. To think now as well, you can't buy a packet of cigarettes without pictures on them, and like they're barred in shops and like all covered over now. It's mad to think because the thing is, it's not even that long in
No, no,
reality.
no.
But yeah, I'm glad to see the back of that trend. I think I'm
Yeah.
glad that it's not come back. I mean, I don't know because I haven't been in school for a long time. Obviously, I don't know if they ever came back at any point and were like revived by kids that had like hit the internet and realised that it was a trend at some
I
point.
think you always have something. I mean, kids will always be kids, right? And so there will always be something where they probably try to push the barrier, right? But I think it would be a lot more sinister now. And the only reason I'm saying that is because back then, you know, I'm not going to say it was probably innocent because no, some of the things weren't. But now, with everything that's available to kids now through smartphones and on the internet, I think it would mean something a hell of a lot different now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like I said, not saying it was right then, but I just think now you probably would see probably worse outcomes. I don't know. I'm just, like you said, glad it's not a thing. But I think each generation of children always think they're the first to do something edgy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're the first ones that have gone out on all night drink ups and stuff like that.
Oh, you know what? You know what? It's a throwback to something that you said to me once. I remember we sat down in a pub and you were just like, your generation thinks that they're the ones that invented drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't
I'm like, no, we just invented drinking properly.
just doesn't sound like an old man thing to say at all to his nephew, does it? When I were your age, I was already twice drunk.
But yeah, that's my. I think that's the only like terrible one that I've got. I mean, the rest are all
What else
relatively,
have you got?
just normal.
Give us another one then.
So the other one that I've got is Beyblades.
Now this I've
You know what
heard of.
Beyblades are?
I've heard of them, but I wouldn't know exactly what they are.
Now, to be fair, I mean, with a lot of these fads, they were fads at school, but because I didn't have many friends, I never really got involved in many of them. um, but Beyblades were basically, you could buy like an. Okay, I'll describe what the toy is first. So it's basically on, do you know, like a string pulley thing,
Yeah.
and it basically makes this toy spin really quickly, and then it releases.
Okay. Oh
So it's
yeah.
like a spinning disc, and you put it on kind of like a thing with teeth, and then you pull it really, really fast, and it basically continuously spins. You could buy like an arena for it.
Okay.
And you used to just battle each other with each other's Beyblades, and it was the first person who stopped spinning would be the loser, basically. They were a fad for a while. I know that you can still buy them, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, people used to bring them to school. I think this was more for me something that was a primary school thing and something that people used to do outside of school. Like everybody had Beyblades. It was just a pretty standard thing. That's one fad. But like I said, I mean, you don't really, I know that you can still buy them, but you just don't see them very often. I don't know if that's because kids have gone away from like actual physical toys and now are more interested in phone tech stuff. But yeah, you used to like battle your Beyblades with someone else. It was kind of like, I guess, the modern day version of Conkers, set with an arena, and your parents had to spend 60 quid.
And less fresh air.
Yeah, less fresh air.
But also probably less bruised knuckles. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also true.
I never did conkers. Felt too what's the word?
Had we discovered Conkers when you were at school?
We discovered. Oh yeah, no conkers. I just thought it was boring. So again, it's like, hold on, you want me to collect these things and you want to try smash them? It's like, no, if I'm collecting something, I want to keep them until I see fit to dispose of them.
There was, do you know what it is? It's, as well, do you know about like bruising your knuckles as well? Now, because this has just thrown me onto another one. There used to be a trend at school of, again, like basically, it's like you said earlier about like posturing and who could prove they were the baddest and the hardest. And what you'd do is you'd take coins and you'd put your hand on the table, your knuckles on the table. Did you ever play that game? And it'd basically be you'd flick the coin and you'd slide it as hard as you could across the table to your opponent,
Yeah.
and basically try and draw blood from their knuckles.
No, he didn't do that. But we had a game, and I don't remember. It may have just been some family members tormenting me. But well, I can't remember what led up to it. But whether it was a forfeit or if you lost or something. But you would then get wrapped on the knuckles with like a full deck of cards. So you know the edge of a card. So
Oh, yeah.
basically take your skin off your knuckles.
Yeah. I guess we just did it with whatever change there was. So
Yeah.
whenever someone pulled out a pound coin, you were like, "Oh, come on!" You're like, "Where's the 2p?" Someone pulled out a pound coin, and you knew they were about it.
Yeah, so Beyblades, how much were they? Were they, I mean, were they pricey then, or?
Well, you can actually still buy them now. I mean, so Amazon are selling like the sets of Beyblades for 40 quid with the spinners and stuff. So that I think gives you your arena and a couple of Beyblades. Individually about 10 to 15 quid each. Depends on kind of what set they are.
Do you keep them if you won? Is that the thing?
To be honest, I don't know if anybody ever played the game correctly because I'm still unsure of the rules. But I just think what you did is like there were different styles and designs and that sort of thing. So I think it was a collection thing as well. So basically, you just collect all the different designs and colors, and some of them were probably more effective than others at battling. God, it sounds so sad now, doesn't it?
And I think that's just probably an evolution of one that I've got here. So have you heard of Pogs?
Heard of Pogs?
So I think Pogs is just a variation. They were about in the 90s, and I think I used to collect them, but I never actually played them because I didn't actually want to potentially lose them. Okay, you see, there's a theme here. I want to keep my stuff, but they were like discs, right? Round discs, and they had like various pictures on, so it might have been cartoon characters. And what you would do is you'd put them in a pile. So you'd have your set, I'd have my set, and then you'd put them in a pile, and you'd get you'd have a harder one, I think, called a slammer, and you'd have to throw it down. And any that sort of flipped up but landed face up, you could keep those.
Oh, it sounds a little bit like that game they played in Squid Game.
Yeah, Squid Game,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Actually, here it is. So this is from an old game called Milk Caps, but ultimately Pogs was the same. So you contribute an equal number of the Milk Caps or Pogs to build a stack with the pieces face down. The players then take turns throwing their slammer down onto the top of the stack, causing it to spring up and the milk caps to scatter. Each player keeps any milk caps that land face up. After each throw, the milk caps which are landed face down are then restacked. So basically, you keep going. So kind of that's what reminded me. The Beyblade feels like it's an evolution of that. That you've got the thing that you are pledging or betting to battle your opponent's one. Do you see what I'm saying? And then the
Yeah,
winner.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I get you.
It's just obviously as the kids get younger, they want it more high tech and fancy and whizzy. Just some milk caps won't do.
Imagine that as well. Like, do you know what it is? It's like I wonder if any of these things do take like storm on like playgrounds again. Like if like Pogs were to come back like in force and they became a popular thing, whether or not kids would actually pick them up or not.
Yeah, I mean, because now everything's kind of digital online phones and games. And I think that's exactly, I think actually what you've said there has reminded me that that's a really good point that maybe back in the day, because these were physical things, and if you saw someone in the playground with them, and because they were, it's going to sound weird, like a social thing, you wanted in on it, and maybe that's why they kind of took off because you see the kids in the corner of the playground playing the Pogs. Well, I want to be in it, but if you to be in it, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
have it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think I reckon you could probably still get it because, like I said, they were collectible in their own right because they're all different designs and like I said, I think you got like cartoon characters, etc., etc. They're all colourful. Yeah, you can have a look if you look at milk caps or Pogs. Yeah, they've got them on eBay now actually as well. So
Well, again, I'm just having a look. The Jurassic Park 6 Pog hologram set with Slammer now worth $1 million.
really.
Yeah, Stussy $200, heavy brass Pog Slammer 79.99. So again, if you've got any Pogs, Marilyn Monroe set of 10, the complete set, $1,250 estimated values. Unbelievable money.
Jeez, and just think these were things that I would have played and then chucked in the bin.
Yeah, that do you know what it is as well? That's what hurts me, and I know that we're going to talk about a few things as well moving forward. Because I imagine me and you have got a couple that are probably the same, and I'll tell some stories about the ones that hurt me directly.
Actually, something quickly as well. Another one that I hadn't remembered, but or sorry, I hadn't written down, but I've remembered since we've been talking. Yo-yos. Yo-yos was another one. But sorry, but specifically because you used to have, I call them your crappy normal yo-yos. But then you got like your stunt ones, as they call them, come out from like Coke and Fanta. So they were the ones that kind of almost like go outwards. They're like if you had two halves of a like a donut and you stuck them the other way round.
Right, right, okay, okay.
So they just looked cooler because of that, right? And then yeah, you could do like the stunts with them, and yeah, everyone could do the walk the dog because you just had to throw it down really quickly and then just have it walk around. But then you were trying to then it was actually more dangerous than probably owning a penknife because you were hitting yourself all over the place. But yes, when the I call them quote stunt yo-yos came out again, that was quite a fad because back then you could pick them up from everywhere or collect them from your cereal tokens, etc., etc. But yeah, yo-yos was another bizarre one, which I wonder if kids now would get into.
Yeah, yo-yos for me again. Never really saw it on the playground, that sort of thing. But I think that came more of an age where tech and TV was less of an influence. So I think back then it was more so like toys would come out and be the fad in themselves. Similarly with the Rubik's Cube thing. But again, saying that, like I said, the yo-yos still have like a world championship, don't they?
Yeah, which I never take part in, even though I owned all these things. I've still not been a world champion in any of them.
See, that's the thing. You could have made a living if you'd have just solved that Rubik's Cube legit.
Yeah, now everybody, yeah, everybody wants to be an e-gamer now, esports now. Call of Duty, professional FIFA. Back then, it was all about the yo-yos, man. The yo-yos and the Rubik's cubes. Don't mess, don't mess. But I wonder if that's the thing, right? Are physical toys less of a thing now because everything is it's all about the apps and games now. So back then, when something new and physical came out, they looked great and they were advertised really heavily on the TV because you had to go to the shops and buy them. Like the big thing I collected as a kid were He-Man figures. Do you know He-Man the cartoon?
Oh, yep. I think I know you.
You could buy the figures for them, and I collected them because again they were very plasticky, very bright, very bold, and they were something you could show off to people because when you go around to your mate's house, you'd bring them around, or your mate if he had the ones you didn't have, you could have the battles or the storylines because I never had oh what was it, Battle Cat? I never had Battle Cat, but I think my cousin did. But now everything's online.
Yeah, I mean, and even now when we look at, some of the others, like the world of NFTs is probably
Yeah, yeah,
taking over like school playgrounds soon
yeah, yeah.
enough. Very, very weird. I mean, on the point of like figurines and that sort of thing, I'd say it was probably reserved for a smaller group of people, but wrestling figures.
Yeah, you see that kind of bypassed me, I think.
Because I don't know. I don't know when original wrestling figures would have been released, but that wasn't necessarily a school thing. That was just things that people collected. But that's because, again, the WWE coming out the 90s, when you're a kid,
Yeah,
like we discussed in the WWE episode, it was so inappropriate
yeah.
that you wanted to then collect the figures and you wanted the belts and that sort
I
of
remember you
thing.
had the WWE ring, I think, a little one.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, I
think you had a
loved it. I had
Vince
so many
McMahon.
figures.
I think you had a Vince McMahon doll, I think. What doll?
Yeah, I had
Figure.
so many. Do you know what the sad thing is as well? Is they're all binned in like a clear out because like
No
at
doubt.
that
Yeah.
point they're just battered and that sort of thing. But I can't imagine if they were worth anything. I just remember it was like you had pocket money, you had maybe a tenner, and it would be Woolworths toy section.
Woolworths.
What figures could I get from Woolworths for a tenner? But yeah, WWE figures I loved, and having the ring. Oh, if you had a WWE ring when you were young, you were elite level.
Yeah, no. So the WWE stuff kind of missed whether it missed me or I just wasn't into it because I had other things at the time. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I didn't have enough space in my wardrobe for all those toys. Because that's the other thing, right? With all these things, it's space.
Yeah, that's true. Do you know what it is? Yeah, like nowadays, it used to be that when you got new things, you had to make room, and so you had to throw stuff away, didn't you?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason none of this expensive, valuable stuff is anymore in anybody's wardrobes because you made way for the yo-yos, which made way for the Game Boy, which made way for.
I remember my cousin had a pellet gun, right, at the time, and when we outgrew our He-Man figures, lined them up on his wall, and we gave them a send off. We shot them with the pellet gun.
Bit like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. What else you got?
I've got one again, a little bit left field. I just remember the adverts being for this all over television constantly, to be honest with you, and that is magic sand.
Magic sand.
Yeah, so it was stuff that you used underwater, and funnily enough, I don't think I ever owned it, even though I think I probably really wanted it, but I never owned it. And it was basically sand that when you put it underwater, it would be like a solid, and you
Okay.
could build stuff with it underwater. And then the moment that you took it out of the water, it all of a sudden turned back into like dry sand and like a powder in your hand. And I
Right.
remember the adverts. We used to walk into Toys R Us, and it was just entire sections dedicated to magic sand. And I just I think to myself now, I'm like, what was the point?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, why are you gonna have a permanent fish tank to build your underwater houses? Like, I didn't. When I look at it now, yeah, it was a cool thing at the time because of, oh my god, look underwater, you can build stuff with it. But it was so stupid. It was so
But
stupid.
at that time, it was the thing, the thing you desired the most. That's the thing,
Yeah, that's it. That's
advertising,
it.
a child's mind, advertising and bright, colourful toys is a deadly combination. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's the thing as well. Like it was all like bright orange and green and purple and that sort of thing. And so again, like the adverts made it look so cool. It's like, oh my god, you can build an underwater house, and but it's just like in reality, the practicality. I'm like, what am I going to do? Fill a bowl of water in the kitchen and start building sandcastles? Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can probably understand why it was a big fad for a bit and then kind of died out because practically it's a little bit useless.
And again, going back to toys and marketing, because again, when I was a kid, you used to have, because you didn't have, say, all these children's channels, you'd have, especially on a Saturday morning, you'd have 2 or 3 hours of kids' TV, right, on normal terrestrial TV. And that was then all advertising at kids. So you were a captive market. Do you know what I mean? You just saw all these images and you wanted those toys, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. And do you know what it is as well? Is a bit like what you said. As soon as someone hops on the trend, all of a sudden you need to be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you got anything else?
I'm gonna Yeah, I'm going to list something that probably came out just after. I'm not going to say I was a kid at the time because I think they come out mid to late 90s, but I remember them being a craze, and you can still get them in some form now. And someone did get it for me as a joke, and it was addictive. Were Tamagotchis? Do you,
Tamagotchi, what a
do
throwback.
you remember Tamagotchis?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like the crappy little plastic keyring egg thing, and it would have something living. Now it might be a plant. I think the one I had was a plant, but it could be a dog or a cat or something. Yeah, and basically you had to keep it alive, right? And I think you had like 3 buttons. You probably had food, clean, and eat. No, food, clean, and play or something. And you had to keep them happy, didn't you? And so I was having a look. So yeah, they were first released by Bandai in Japan in apparently 1996, and they had a 32 by 16 pixel screen.
Yeah, I remember them being tiny little things.
Yeah, and there were 3 buttons. Each button serves a simple function like feeding your Tamagotchi, turning off the lights in its room, or playing a game with it. And functions also include cleaning up your Tamagotchi's poop at times so frequently that you could not help but worry about the health of its colon. Fail at these simple tasks, and your Tamagotchi suffers a gruesome, neglectful death. And I think the things about these toys is they were concerns about how addictive they were. They said, despite the creature being only a 10 pixel blob, school students were willing to earn themselves detention for checking in on it during class rather than deal with an ill-timed death, because you couldn't pause the game. It wasn't something you paused. It just was real time.
Now, if I remember rightly, when they died, was that it? They actually died, as in, like, you couldn't restart them
I
after that.
think you're right. I think originally they were. I'm not sure if later versions didn't, but I'm sure that was it. Yeah, they died. Because get this right, the thing I didn't know, and this was new to me, and this is in the United Kingdom as well, right?
It's just like a real life parenting simulator.
It is. Well, get this right. In the United Kingdom, there were pet cemeteries that went so far as to dedicate section of the cemetery specifically to the digital pets of children whose neglect resulted in Tamagotchi's death.
Imagine that, being a parent, picking up a toy for your kid for like 40 quid and then having to pay for a funeral for it as
It said,
well.
yeah, it is, and that's what it said here. Would millennials have ever learned to care for children if not for the grief of losing Tamagotchi? So,
My God, maybe we should bring that back and it should be a class in and of itself at
yeah.
schools.
And I think that's what they're saying. They said this was almost like the introduction, they said, of the continual play feature, where it was something that you just had to be on all the time. And Tamagotchis also caught the attention of psychologists as well as school officials. In an interview with the New York Times, one psychologist feared that Tamagotchis were problematic to kids' mental health. The toy creates a real sense of loss and a mourning process. Kids want to nurture and take care of pets. It gives them a feeling of empowerment and self-importance, but here the consequences are too high and it's out of control.
That there is mental. The fact that you've got people from the like actual registered psychologists saying that this is an issue. But it's true when you think about it, the concept of the toy in and of itself is you were always going to cause the addiction to that because again, like you said, I distinctly remember them actually dying and like being useless if they died.
Yeah.
And if that's initially how it was set out, imagine like paying for a toy and turning around and then losing it, and that's that. You don't get another one. There's no other shot at it. It's just gone.
And that's it. And I think even for me, the one I got, even though I would have been like late teens, right? There is an addictive thing because you're thinking, yeah, I'm not going to let this thing die. But then it was like, oh, it's dead. Over the shoulder it goes. And but I remember a couple of years ago, I think it must have been a bit more than a couple of years, definitely pre-COVID. A colleague at work, her daughter had one, but obviously because the daughter would go to school, she couldn't look after it. The mum was bringing it into work for a few days, and we were like all reminding her, "Have you fed it? Have you done it?" And it's like for a while, this became a really important thing. It's like, but it was more almost like making sure that she didn't let her daughter down. You know?
I wonder if Tamagotchi sales went up in the time of COVID with people that were like, "Can we buy a dog? But can we look after a dog? Maybe we should try Tamagotchi first."
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Well, you've had variations on it since because you had Nintendogs, didn't you, on the DS?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Which
Nintendogs, yeah.
maybe not as much because I don't think they died, did they? If you,
No, no,
yeah.
no, no, no. Could you imagine? Could you imagine a 12-year-old waking up, plugging on their Nintendo, and all of a sudden their Labrador's dead? Sorry, you haven't fed him for 4 days.
But I mean, this is the things we had as kids when we were young. We were all right, and we've grown up all right, right?
Oh my
Well,
God.
what else have you got? What else have you got?
Okay, well, I'm going to skip into more trading cards now, and this is based on television because I think the one that we'll overlap on, I think we'll probably do after this. And so the ones that I'm going to talk about are both Yu-Gi-Oh! and Pokemon.
Both I know about, but both definitely that was just after me and I never got into. And I'm gonna say I'm glad, because you remember I said at the start that I've got an addictive kind of personality when it comes to things. I think if I was of that age, I would have been all over those.
You probably would still be
I
collecting
probably
Pokemon
still
now.
would, and I'm so glad I didn't. But sorry, over to you.
Well, you never know. You might have wished that you did, because they're definitely worth a lot now.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, obviously, I think it was just popularized by both TV shows. Now, probably to the disappointment of a lot of our viewers, I was actually more into Yu-Gi-Oh than I ever was Pokemon. I don't think I ever actually bought a pack of Pokemon cards at any point in my life,
Wow.
because Yu-Gi-Oh was just a bit cooler to me.
Was you
And
sorry?
even at my school,
Was Yu-Gi-Oh like, you had Transformers, but you had the was it the GoBots, which was
yeah,
was it
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
It's
like that?
basically, yeah, a little bit. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh was just your off-brand. It wasn't Kellogg's. It was your off-brand supermarket owner, I guess. But the thing is, the TV show was great. I actually preferred the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show to the Pokemon one, because I watched both. So Yu-Gi-Oh cards always got into me more. And also, the trend at my school was Yu-Gi-Oh. Not many people had Pokemon cards comparatively.
Okay.
It was only a few, whereas Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of the mainstream. And again, I mean, do you know what it is? Is with the TV shows, you used to have to play the game where, like, you've got X attack power and defense power. No one used to play the game. Everyone just collected the cards. And I remember there was like an absolute obsession with obtaining, I think they were called God cards at the time.
Yeah.
And they were like super, super rare. You could only get them out of like particular packs. They were really, really rare as it was. And as soon as someone hit the school playground with one of them, it was like, I'll give you all of my cards for that one. I'll give you all. It's like you've got 100 quid worth of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that you're willing to trade for one person's single card. But yeah, it was humongous. Again, confiscated by teachers, because everybody used to bring them into school, because it was the prime time for trading. Like, there was always kids at school that had amazing collections, and they'd be the one like dealing out of like
So,
out of like the play equipment.
so this is going to be a horrific question for a lot of people to hear, but what was Yu-Gi-Oh? Because I know Pokemon are like weird creatures. Was that the same as Yu-Gi-Oh, or was it people? Was it?
Yeah, so Yu-Gi-Oh is just like monsters,
Oh, okay.
is the only way to describe
Okay.
them. If you go and have a look at some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like I remember, I think it was Blue Eyes Shining Dragon was one of them. And originally, again, I think all came from Japan, and then kind of exported to all of the foreign markets as Pokemon did.
Because Pokemon sounded really dodgy to me. Because the only ones I know, one's called Bulbasaur, I think, and the other's called Squirtle. So I mean, they seem really dodgy to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you were put that up against shag bands as a parent, you wouldn't know what you wanted your kid to have. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh was like monsters, and they'd like battle on like a battlefield. I mean, there was a thing in the game, and for those that know Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll probably know it. And it was basically something that you stored your cards in. Now, it was basically a contraption that fit to your arm, and the only thing I can liken it to is, the Pip-Boy in Fallout.
Yeah.
It was like that, except you used to push a button, and then like all of these like card holders would like pop out into like one
Oh
sort of
wow.
flat
Wow.
surface, and you'd store all of your cards in it, and that's how you were supposed to play it. Again, Yu-Gi-Oh
See, I'd
tournaments, I
want
think,
it
are
for
still a
that.
thing.
I'd want it for that. That's
Yeah, that's the thing. It was actually a cool bit of kit. And again, I never actually had one of them. But if you did, you were elite. You were elite. Like, if you had one of them, oh my God.
because that
Absolute
would probably be about 50, 60 quid, I reckon.
yeah, yeah, this is the thing. And at the time, the reason nobody had one is too bloody expensive. Imagine going to your parents and be like, Mum, Dad, I want this plastic arm that stores my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They'd be like, shut
And then
up.
you bring it to school, and some git smashes it probably.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
Can I have a look at it? Yeah, on the floor, stand.
But yeah, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh cards were a huge, huge thing. And again, like, it'd be like it'd be like auction houses on the playground. Be like, okay, I've got Dark Magician. What are you going to give me for my Dark Magician? People are like bidding, like turning around and being like, oh, I'll give you 4 of these and X ones of these and 9 of these.
So are they kind of like top trumps in a sense of is that you battle, and have they got ratings or something?
Yeah, so they've all got stats, but they also had different cards, which were like trap cards and magic cards, from what I remember. And if you played with a trap or magic card, from what I remember, they had special abilities. So, for instance, it would allow you to draw an extra card from your deck, or it would stop the next opponent's attack and that sort of thing. And it was basically all based on the defense and attack stats and how you played the game. Like I said, nowadays there's actually still professional competition for it, which is probably really cool to watch, to be fair.
Sounds like a cross between top trumps and Uno.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So it sounds
but with rip-off monsters.
sounds too complicated to me. But That's the thing. I remember looking at Pokemon because all the games it spawned as well on like the Game Boy and things like
Oh
that, you
yeah.
know. I mean, and people are so intense into it, which I love. I love seeing it doesn't matter that I'm not into it or I don't know what it is, but I love seeing people who've got a passion for something. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah, yeah.
intensity of a fandom for something. Part of me almost like I'm almost jealous because I'm like, I want to be into something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, do you know what it is as well? I mean, and we'll lead on to the Pokemon because I had a little bit of experience with Pokemon. So obviously, Pokemon Go released a few
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
Now, I'm pretty certain it came out when I was at uni, and obviously, not being somebody that had played Pokemon before, I only downloaded the game because all of my mates, even though we were all 20 at the time, all like downloaded Pokemon, and there were people out in droves. So you had
It was
locations that were
insane.
set, yeah, for like where you could find Pokemon or where you could get like supplies from and that sort of thing. And there was one where I worked in the same place where I went to university for a period of time, and outside of my place of work, there was a Pokemon gym. So just intermittently, you would see 50 people turn up, stand there for an hour, and then go home because people were honestly out. I remember being in the car with one of my flatmates once, and he turned around and said, he said to me, he was just like, "Sorry, can you pull over here?" I was like, "Why? What's up?" He was just like, "Because there's a Pokemon by the castle that I need to get." And I was like, "Are you taking the piss out of me?" I did. I stopped for him. I was just like, "Yeah, you know what? While we're here," I was like, "Why not?"
I'd written Pokemon Go down because where I work is a business park, right? So there's a few businesses, like head offices of them. And even some ex-colleagues of mine who I met up with who worked in one of the other ones, they're in like their 40s, they were addicted to it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I never forget once coming back from lunch, and I'm gonna, over the top, but it was almost like a zombie apocalypse in the sense of there were groups of these men, mainly men they were, standing in, like you said, huddles, maybe wherever there's Pokemon or gyms or whatever they were, but all just looking downwards at the phone, but silent. And
yeah.
they were just like groups dotted around this retail park, sorry, this business park. And again, I just found it really weird because these guys were just head down, silent, just intensely focused on their phones. It's almost like there was some really bad news had just been released to the world, and they were just staring at the phone in disbelief. But no, they were, I don't know, they were training their Bulbasaurs or something. But,
But yeah, it's honestly it was unbelievable. I mean, there were stories of people that had been like robbed. So there was a system in the game where you could basically put what was called a lure, I think, down on one of these locations. So basically, you'd have I mean, anybody listening to this probably has the context anyway, but for those that don't, so there were locations, and they'd probably be like kind of like local landmarks. No matter how small your town was, you'd have
yeah,
locations where
yeah,
you could get supplies from. And you could put something down on the location that meant more Pokemon would spawn there. And they were paid for items. I think you could earn them for free, but obviously it's pay to win nowadays. And people would put them down, and there were instances of people getting robbed because people put laws down on Pokemon to draw a crowd at night, knowing that people would know it was there to get more Pokemon, and they would get robbed of their phones while they were there. It was
unbelievable,
honestly, it was
unbelievable.
absolutely mental. Like the awareness, it was just a period of time where you saw people walking around and they didn't pick their heads up. It was so strange.
Yeah, yeah,
So strange. And it's true, it kind of went past a generational thing because it's like one of my mates at uni turned around and said, "Oh yeah, my dad's like level 59 or something." I was just like, "Hang on, what?" I'm like, "How does he have time in the workday?"
but you see, that's the thing. I think because it was an app, and it was, from my understanding, it's fairly simple, wasn't it? You'd walk around, and if there was a poke ball or something, you'd have to catch it or something, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember at the start, they were popping up in really inappropriate places as well, weren't they? So I think I was on holiday when this happened, and it may have been, I'm not sure where, it may have been Vietnam, but I remember on one trip going around these places and they had sign basically saying like no Pokemon here. No, not allowed. Like it was, I don't know if it was a picture of the Pokeball with a cross through it, kind of like like the Ghostbusters sign.
Yeah.
And it's like, which then makes you think that people were doing it in inappropriate places, like religious places or sacred grounds. And you're thinking that's just the addictiveness, then how much that must be taking over people's minds.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like people genuinely just didn't know where they were because they were like gyms and stuff set up either at churches or at cemeteries or public statues and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. It was a really weird period of time. I mean, you don't see it as much now because again, the whole hype around the game. I think people used it as a nostalgia kick. to be fair.
Yeah.
And that was really it for most people. But again, there's lots of people that are still into it, still
Oh,
got to
it's
catch
still
them all.
going, isn't it? It's still going. Yeah. Catch them all.
I think as well, just as a reference, I think that was in Central Park. I think Logan Paul nearly incited a riot in Central Park because he screamed that there was like a Mewtwo, which is like a super rare Pokemon, apparently. Again, all red, I don't know. And literally, it caused a stampede of people. It was all a lie, obviously. He just made it up. And there was literally a stampede of people that ran past him to try and find, oh my God, where's this Mewtwo?
But you see, back in my day, it's like, oh my God, there's Madonna. That would cause a stampede. Not
Yeah,
there's a
no.
bit.
Yeah, I reckon you could literally, if Jesus rose again and walked the earth, but there was a rare Pokemon nearby, nobody would notice him.
And I think that's what's funny about these, because these things aren't real, are they? As you know, but
This
you're
is what I
you're
mean.
going to these places, but you're capturing nothing in a sense.
Do you know what it is as well? Is I mean, the whole thing of collecting things is, I guess, to have them to hand. Like, I like physical things. We talked about you with records, me with shirts and that sort of thing before, because it's nice to see and have a look. But the Pokemon is, to me, even different from the cards. The cards I kind of get. I mean, I don't get the like $1,000,000 per Charizard or whatever it is. But I do kind of understand the cards to a degree because it's a collection that you flick through. But the Pokemon Go thing of like catching everyone, it's like, what do you, like if you're at a party, do you just pull out your Pokemon Go collection and be like, look what I've got, and like what
Yeah,
where?
no, fair
I
point.
don't know.
Fair point.
I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
like you said, ultimately, what's your reward at the end of it? You just then got to look at your phone and look at it. Like you said, you're not looking at a shelf full of your captured Pokemon.
Yeah, in jars or something.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one, that, because I think I get the idea of the cartoon and the games and that, and the Pokemon Go though, that was slightly, that was unusual for me. Just how much it captured even older people, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the weird thing. It was like, you'd see parents in the street like with their children wandering into the middle of the road, but they're looking down trying to
Yeah,
capture a
yeah.
Pikachu.
Pikachu.
My God, unbelievable.
But actually, this has reminded me. I think we're probably going to move on to. I think we've probably got a shared one here, haven't we?
Yeah.
But just some honorary mentions actually that has come out while you were saying that. When I was younger as well was I think there was something called Monster in My Pocket, which were tiny little rubbery monsters. I mentioned it a couple of times. Top Trumps,
Oh yeah, Top Trumps. Yeah.
and what was the other one? Micro Machines.
Micro Machine. Never heard of them actually. When I've seen the monsters in my pocket, it has actually reminded me. I do know what they are, but they were never really a thing that captured my generation. Did you say Micro Machines?
Micro Machines, yeah, they were tiny cars basically. I never really had them. I just remember them the advert with a guy just saying, I can't remember, it was like Micro Machines come in collections of 5, Micro Machines come in collections of 5. And again, it was just one of those adverts that was drilled into your brain, and it like made you want to get them just because they came in collections of 5 or whatever they did. But just see, I think you would have been all over those because I know your love for cars. I think if these,
Yeah.
but yeah, they were basically, as they said, they were just miniature vehicles. But okay, what's next? What was next for you?
Okay, now I'm going to bundle these next two together because they're kind of the same thing, and that's football cards and football stickers.
Football stickers, yeah. Oh God.
So I think stickers were more of the playground fad, to be fair.
Yeah,
And then I think especially in the earlier days. So I think with you, it would have been the stickers, and then the cards kind of
absolutely.
came
Yeah,
afterwards,
yeah.
like 30 years afterwards when I was at school.
It's not that long, but okay.
But yeah, football cards and football stickers. I mean, I collected them from when I was really, really young because it was just satisfying to put a peel down. Do you know, in a Panini album, it was always Panini albums, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Let's
yeah,
be honest,
yeah, yeah.
especially when you're younger, and when the World Cup was on.
Yes, yeah.
You'd get your World Cup thing, and then stickers. I think at the time were only like 30p a pack or something like that. Now I think they're like £1 or
Well,
something
for
stupid.
me, they were 10p a pack.
Yeah, unbelievable scenes when they're 10p a
So
pack. Now
yeah,
you need your parents to remortgage if you want to finish your collection.
yeah. So for American friends, they were, as they sound, so they were book albums featuring the teams in the top football division at the time. So like now it'd be Premier League, but then it would have been like Division 1. And each team had its own page, normally 2 pages, or the main teams did, but then sometimes you get smaller teams that would all be on
Yeah,
1 page. And then, yeah, you would buy a pack of, what do you get, 5 or 10 stickers in a pack, I think.
yeah, between that is somewhere there.
And you would,
I think it varied.
yeah, and you'd have to fill out each player. Each player had a position on the page, but then you would have like a team photo and then the grail was the shiny badge, wasn't it?
The shiny
It was like a
badges.
foil badge. Go on.
Yeah, and did you ever get the albums with the trophies as well? Because the trophies were always
Yes,
a
yeah.
foil sticker.
Well,
They were
as time went
unbelievable.
on, yeah, they added extra stickers like, yeah, of trophies, but then sometimes they would make that or even a team photo a two-parter. So,
Yeah, yeah.
just to add more more stickers to it, right? Yeah, the gits. But yeah, I remember for me, sorry, they were 10p a pack, so you could go to the shop with like a fiver and buy loads of them. Do you know what I mean? And you just have
Yeah,
them all.
yeah. That's the thing, and there was nothing better than unraveling like 100 packs of stickers or something stupid all at one go and be like, got, need, got. And the worst thing about it was when you had the albums, let's say, there's 300 stickers in an album, 400 stickers in an album. The moment that you set a sticker wrong, do you know where like you could see
Oh
the
my God,
border of
yeah,
the outline image
yeah.
finished? You might as well throw the album away. It's done. It's done.
Because those were, and I don't know if they've changed them now, but yeah, as soon as you put it in wrong, if you lifted it up, you ripped the page.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'd have
Because
to
they
stick
made
it
it
down wrong, yeah.
Yeah, it was made out of that really thin magazine
Yeah.
paper. So as soon as it touched the paper, if it was wrong, that's it. You had to deal with it. And then you'd always flick back to that page, being like, why did I do that?
But you know what? I'm gonna be honest, right? And like now I love my football. But when I was a kid, I wasn't massively into it, but I was addicted to the football albums because again, there's that
Yeah.
addiction. So the books themselves were nice. They were glossy. They were quite big. Then there was the thing of buying the packs. Then, like you said, even if you only had £1, you could then buy 10 packs, right? Which was a lot. The satisfaction of opening the pack, pulling the stickers out, going through them, seeing that shiny, getting that thrill. It was a thrill, right? This sounds sad, but it was a thrill. But then going through them, putting them in the album, it was like it was like a meditation almost doing that. But the annoying thing about them was the amount of swaps you would get, and that's then when it goes back to a theme you've said throughout yours is the playground dealings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so what you'd pull out, like I'd pull out a packet of like 100 swaps, and you'd then go up to someone and say, "Right, what have you got?" You're like, "Got need." So you'd put that one to the side. Got need, and then you would go through yours, and they would do the same, and then you would like bargain with, "Okay, I'll give you." I know I'll give you a Kevin Keegan and a Paul Gascoigne for the shiny Man United badge or something like that. And that was the only way you
Honestly,
could
it's
get anywhere
amazing.
near completing them. You had to do these deals.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like that's what it was, and I think that's especially at school what like the teachers always hated because there'd always be like there'd always be the odd robbery scandal where it's like stickers have been stolen out of a student's bag. Like where have they gone? Like it was but yeah, the football stickers were absolutely brilliant. But I think previously as well they did coins, didn't they? As well.
Oh, coins. Yes, they did. No, well, I think coins were in between. I don't think they were before the stickers, but yeah, I do remember the coins now. Yeah.
But yeah, no, the football stickers was great. I mean, again, my sad story about the football stickers is because, again, like any person getting older, you go through old stuff and you think, don't need it anymore. You can get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I remember collecting stickers. So I probably collected cards and or stickers from probably about 2004. So I was really, really young at the time. Would have
Right.
been
Yeah.
primary school age.
Yeah.
And I remember finding them a few years ago and thinking nothing of them. So I remember for a couple of tournaments, I actually didn't have the original album. I just had stickers and had collected the sticker collections
Right.
together, as in
Yeah.
the teams and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sort of thing, but had never stuck them. And I remember collecting 2006. Now, for 2006, I think it was also because Italy did really well that World Cup. We got far. I continuously wanted to get the Italy players and make sure I had the Italy team,
Yeah.
but I didn't have the album for the stickers. I had the album for the cards, but never for the stickers. So basically, a few years ago, so this is probably 4 or 5 years ago now, I actually found all of these stickers and thought, oh, I don't need them. It's just taking up room. So basically, I just sent them off. Do you know, like in like your front garden where you just leave something outside and just let someone pick it up, basically? I did that. And I think another set went to like a car boot sale or something that someone was doing. I was like, look, take these. I don't need them. So 2006 was an important year because it was the first year that Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi appeared in international World Cup football stickers.
Oh, really?
It was. So now, if you look
Oh
at
no.
the value
Here we go.
of the Cristiano and Lionel Messi, and bearing in mind, I'm being deadly serious when I say this, that year for the stickers especially. So I collected the cards. I remember having the Ronaldo one, but never having the Messi one. But again, that would have gone in a car boot sale anyway. But with the stickers, when I say I had hundreds and hundreds of swaps, if not thousands, I had literally, do you know shoe boxes?
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I literally had shoe boxes full of those stickers. So I would have had multiple of each of them. So at the minute, in a PSA 8, which isn't even a particularly good condition, that Cristiano Ronaldo sticker goes for £200+.
Oh man.
And I would have had, they would have been, the thing is as well, they would have literally just gone in that box after that year and I would have literally never looked at them again.
Yeah.
And I would have just picked the box up and been like, I don't need these, so I'll get rid of them. And there would have probably been 5 or 10 of probably each of them in that box. And I just think to myself, you know what? I'm such an idiot. But yeah, honestly, of the mistake that I realized that I made during COVID, and the only reason I found this out is because I actually, during COVID, started collecting the match attacks. I turned around and I saw them at the front of the thing, and I turned around. I was like, you know what? I was like, I haven't collected football cards in ages.
Well, I remember, yeah, because I remember seeing the album you had. But but for me, I actually did one as well. I got back into the football stickers. I think it was 2016, the Euros. And
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was I was in game and I saw on the counter they had the football album for 2016 and like a tin of cards and it was like £3 for it. And I thought, as a joke, I thought I'd buy it, right? Get it home, and then that bug came back, and then I was buying some more. But then the funny thing was, obviously, as an adult doing it, I didn't have anyone to swap with. So what was funny then was my partner, she went out and bought the same thing and then was buying the stickers. So I had someone to swap with. I remember I went for an op at the time. I needed to have my 2016. I was having my gallbladder taken out, and I remember being in the hospital waiting room, and we were going through the sticker album, putting the stickers in to distract me while I was waiting for that. And I actually think that's the one I completed. So I need to find if I've still got it because I've moved house since. But I think the only way I completed that was you could send off, I think, for 20 stickers. So I remember setting up an account in my name, an account in her name, just to get the required stickers. But sorry, you were saying about the match attack because the cards were something I didn't get into. They've come much later, I think.
Yeah. The cards, again, like I said, were probably, I mean, they did cards in the early 90s for like the Prem and that sort of thing. There's actually
Oh,
even
right,
older ones. I
okay.
know my dad's got in the loft some like Leeds cards from like the 70s, but they
Oh,
would have come in like either like cereal and that sort of thing.
yeah.
Because sometimes as well, like cards were traditionally as well always came as like an addition to like a packet of cigarettes. Back in the day, you'd get like
Yes,
a packet of
that's right.
cigarettes and you'd get like a sports card or
That's
something in it.
right.
Again,
Yes,
bit of an
yeah.
American thing, but again, kind of transitioned to the UK eventually. But yeah, the cards came out, and I remember it was like the early 90s would have been when they first came in. And I probably, like I said, got into it probably about '04 because I think that's
Right,
the
yeah.
earliest one that I remember seeing. But yeah, the card albums were exactly the same. But you'd basically have like the plastic wallets to put them in, and they'd be back to back on them. And then you'd get like your 5-star shinies that would come out of a pack, and that's what you'd bring to school. Be like, yeah, look how many 5 stars I've got.
I don't think you can underestimate people listening and haven't got a clue what to talk about the excitement of having shinies because they were really nice to look at, weren't they? They
Oh,
were
they were like you kept them all separate. Like if you had swaps of them, they were all separate from
separate,
like the
yeah.
the like riffraff cards that you had that
And
were
they were
just
like
like the
thicker,
normal
weren't they?
ones.
Because they were like foil cards, so they were thicker as well, you know.
Yeah, they were. But oh my god, it was absolutely brilliant. But that's the thing. I mean, nowadays when you look at like the way that card values have gone and that sort of thing, it genuinely is unbelievable. Because again, like I would say, anybody to listening to this, please don't make the mistake that I did.
Keep everything.
If you've got
Keep
old
everything.
cards, have a look at them, whatever they are. Just have a scan. Because again, the only reason I found out that the stickers and again the Ronaldo card I think was a little bit more. I think the Ronaldo card, depending on condition, ranges anywhere from £300 plus, which is just killer.
But I think there is actually I did remember when I was collecting those ones, I did ask there was actually that's right. I met up with one of my old colleagues, right, from another place I worked at, and he had kids who were collecting them. So I was actually saying to him, well, if they got swaps, I'll swap with them. And I was swapping with him. But I found something here, just talking about the cost of it, because I'm sure that they run certain stickers, like say the Ronaldo one that you had. I'm sure they run them rare so you have to send off to complete. And I've got a thing on the 2018 Football World Cup sticker album, right? And there was a maths professor has calculated that filling the World Cup sticker book of 2018 would cost someone £773.60.
That is ridiculous, isn't it?
He devised a formula that suggests, given the probabilities of getting duplicate stickers, on average, an individual would need to buy 967 packets of 4,832 stickers to get the set. As well as pictures of the 32 squads of players, there are special stickers for national badges, team group shots, and host city posters, making a total of 682 stickers needed to fill the book. 137 packs of stickers costing £109.60 would be enough to complete the collection, providing you didn't get any doubles. However, anybody who's ever collected World Cup stickers will know that this is an unlikely scenario. He also calculated how swapping duplicate stickers could reduce the cost. So using 10 friends working together, the cost reduces to about still £250 each.
That's still a lot of
That's still a
money, isn't
lot
it?
to complete like a £3 sticker album.
Yeah, in reality, because that's the thing. I think at the end of the season, don't they? They sell them for like
Yeah,
pennies on
yeah.
the pound, don't they? Like, so the thing is, there's all this hype about completing it. When in reality, at the end of the season, if you create enough accounts, you've got enough email addresses, you can just buy them all anyway.
Well, and that's the thing now I see on eBay, you can actually buy not on eBay, sorry, on Amazon, you can buy the complete boxes. So, you'd go to the newsagent and you'd buy like 5 packs or 10 packs, but they'd be in a box of like 100 packs.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah.
on
That's right.
Amazon, you can actually buy like that like
The
retail
news
box.
agent
Yeah,
actual
yeah,
box. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. I think nowadays, I think that the whole hunt for stickers is less exciting because you did have to go to a news agent and they wouldn't have a huge stock
No,
because they were so
no.
popular. So you'd be lucky if you could pick up 10 packs.
And I used to think at the time, right, it's like my area all getting the same stickers. So do I have to go to the next town over to potentially get some different ones? Because that's how my brain worked at the time.
But it is true. I think that when they were talking about like the rarity of cards, I think it turned out that, for instance, recently, well, again, when I got into like the whole football card collecting for the year that I was bored, it turned out that like Tesco had the best opportunity at getting limited edition cards and or signed
Oh,
ones.
really?
So it must have been that if you purchased your box from Tesco, the chances of you getting a card that was signed, like actually on the card by a player, was way higher than any other retailer. So all of a sudden, when that hit, Tesco out of football
Yeah, yeah,
cards.
that wasn't a Tesco boss saying, "Do you know what? We should leak to the press. Let's say this."
Yeah.
But having said that, I remember seeing your they're called match attacks, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
Again, they're presented really nicely. So you open it up, they've all got little pockets to slide them in, haven't they? And they look,
yeah,
and again, it's a presentation thing, which for me is a lot of it is about if something looks stylish, it looks collectible.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, like I said, they put all of the shinies on one page, and you kind of skip through all the bland cards to get there. Yeah, it's weird how addictive it is because again, like the cards never change like every year. In reality, there's maybe 3 new players in the Premier League. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
or that you care about, but the design of the card changes, and that's all of a sudden what becomes.
Well, the other thing the problem you get with those and sticker albums is often they're produced. Well, they have to be produced before the season starts, but by the time the season starts, some of the players might not be at the clubs anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So now, do you know what they do? They release DLC.
Oh, they don't patch them. What, patch it with DLC, do they?
Yeah, yeah, they do. They release paid for DLC.
Oh, man.
And now what they do is they'll release like an update basically, and it'll be like oh, we've added X, Y, and Z player to the sticker album. This is like season 2 of this season.
Oh, man, that's brilliant. Patching DLC for physical books.
All a money grab, unbelievable. And the thing is as well, like packs of stickers are like probably £1 plus now, isn't they?
Yeah, they're probably between 70p to £1, I think, but yeah, not the 10p that I used to pay. So
Yeah, definitely not.
there was something I meant to say right at the start. So while the item itself isn't a fad or a craze because you still get it, it was a craze or a fad for what happened at the time. So, our family owns a shop. I think we can say that owns a business. And I remember at the time, because I love Kinder eggs, right? I absolutely love Kinder eggs. I still do now. And I remember buying a Kinder egg. And this was time, every now and then you used to get special toys that were like they were a one-piece thing. So they were turtles at the time. So rather than little kits that you put together, it was like a whole turtle. And I remember buying a couple, getting them and putting them on the shelf in the shop. I said, "Did you ever? How young were you? Do you remember all the Kinder Egg toys?"
Yeah, yeah, like and you had the little troll doll things.
Yeah, and then in the end, customers would then bring in their toys, so their kids would buy. And so in the end, we probably had no joke. I reckon there was anywhere close to 200 to 300 Kinder Egg toys, and we had to get rid of them because you had to clean them. You had to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember they ended up going in like a box in my
Yeah,
grandmother's shed or something, didn't they?
it just took on a life of its own. I remember it started off with 2 or 3 that I bought as a joke and Dad putting them on the shelf. And then, yeah, customers were bringing them in and it was just amazing. So yeah, so that was like a story about again from the childhood, but something it feels just to say before the end of this, when I was then looking at this, because we're talking about phases and collection and addictions, I found some people who have got some really weird collections, but are also worth a lot of money. So I thought I'd throw some of these weird collections at you and see what you think, and whether they'd be a fad or a craze you'd want to get into.
Here we go.
So we'll start with fairly normal-ish one. So it's unopened Coca-Cola bottles, right? And there's a guy who, as it says, collects unopened Coca-Cola bottles starting from the 50s, but he's now got more than 600 bottles. His holdings include rare bottles commemorating Star Wars, the marriage of Charles and Diana, and other significant events. And while soda doesn't normally cost much, his collection is estimated to be worth more than $15,600.
15,600
$600, yeah.
for flat Coke.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to open that now. It reminds me, did you ever play the Fallout games?
I did,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Nuka-Cola, and you used to
Coca-Cola, yeah,
the lids were the currency. I mean, I
yeah,
wonder
yeah.
in the future he's sitting on a fortune there.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Oh, this one. This is the sort of thing as a kid it probably pops through your mind, but then once you get past 3 or 4, they annoy you and chuck you away. But you know the stickers you get on bananas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know there is a market for different types of adhesive label, right? Banana labels, the small tags stuck to the bunch of fruit you pick up from the store, have a dedicated fan base. A guy from Great Britain owns a collection of more than 30,000 banana stickers, and someone else maintains an online portfolio of her unlikely treasures. If you happen to find a Chiquita sticker from the 1960s, hold on tight. It's said to be the rarest banana label out there. So yeah, this guy's got more than 30,000 banana stickers.
I mean, the only thing that the only question that I ask, it's a very short question as well about that one, is why?
Yeah, yeah. But that's like I said, it's one of those things as a kid, or even now, you'll pick. I remember at a place I worked, I'd pick up like I'd eat the pink lady apple, and you'd have stick on that, and I'd take it off and I'd stick it on someone's monitor, and they might have had like 20 or 30, but once that gets to that level, they rip them off and chuck them in the bin. Um, this one here is a bit weird. Celebrity hair collection.
Yeah, this one's a little bit creepy,
Yeah.
but fair enough. I understand where you're going with this one now.
Yeah, although I'm not sure. It says seeking out celebrity hair to display in one's home sounds a bit stalkerish, but don't worry. The Guinness World Record holder for the biggest and most valuable collection of hair isn't ambushing red carpets to pluck strands out of famous people's heads. Through auctions, he's accumulated the locks on the likes of Abraham Lincoln, Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, and Beethoven, just to name a few. According to the guy, during the Victoria era, collecting strands of hair was sort of like snagging an autograph today. I don't know, that just feels a bit weird, having hair.
How do you prove? Like, what do you mean? Like, if you've got a signature on a piece of paper, like it can be authenticated. Like, what do you need to do to sell your collection of hair? Like, DNA test the hair against the original person? I don't understand. I don't understand.
But that does feel weird. I mean, having a signature is one thing, but having someone's hair just feels odd to me. I don't know.
It's a bit too personal, and it's a bit stanny.
Yeah, and like you said, how do you get it verified that that is who it is?
Yeah, like I mean, if there's a market for it, I'm not saying that we
I
would ever
cut
do
up
this,
my
but
next haircut.
maybe.
My next haircut, last hairdresser keeps some, and then it's I don't know, Keanu Reeves.
Do you know it is as well? The fact that you said Keanu Reeves was the biggest name that you could think of immediately was like, you're definitely a 90s kid.
Dear. I'll just do a couple more. Sugar packet collection, right? There's a guy called Ralph Schroeder. Is currently the world record holder with 14,502 different packets of sugar.
Again, just I don't understand why, but yeah,
But
okay,
people
I
say
guess.
in imagine in 30 years' time, people will say, "What are all these Pokemon cards or football stickers?" Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. The only thing is with like sugar packets, I guess, is there's like I understand, yeah, maybe particular sugar packets can be limited, I guess. But in terms of like just the general market for them, like what is the like what is the enjoyment that you're getting? So for instance, a lot of the Pokemon one is because people enjoyed the show and wanted a physical bit of the
yeah,
show
yeah,
to have with
yeah.
them. The thing with like the sugar thing, the I won't speak on the hair one, the banana label is like, but what for?
Why?
Like, what are you
Why?
enjoying about
Why?
that collection?
This next one, I think is funny, but it's not the reason why they first started collecting it, right? So traffic cone collection. Now, when I saw that, I thought they've got pissed on a night out. They've nicked a traffic cone. They woke up
Yeah,
with a traffic cone.
they're all nicked.
That would have been awesome, but it's not. It was this guy acquired his first traffic cones when a rival plastic manufacturing company sued his company over the design of a cone. He hunted down cones to prove that his design already existed, and he won. But even after the case was closed, he couldn't stop collecting those tantalizing orange cones. He's now got 500, but he's still looking for an elusive 5-sided cone. And that's it. There's a couple more. The only other sort of funny one. This guy's got a collection of 675 back scratchers.
Again, maybe you get physical, like, but does he use them? Would
Well,
be the
this
question
guy.
that
I
I
mean, to
ask.
be fair, this guy he owns a dermatology clinic, but you're not getting it for that. You're getting it because you're addicted to back scratches. And I don't know if you've ever seen the thing I like saying back scratch for. I don't know if you've ever watched Family Guy. But there's an episode where he's walking around and he's just going back scratcher, and I've just got that running through my head. But no, that was it. And I think it was just to highlight though that we're looking at that and find odd, and some of them are odd, but it's just when you go through time and you see what we collect and the fads and phases. I mean, anything is collectible now. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Anything can be a craze or a collection. It's just bizarre, but
Because
yeah,
nowadays,
I
I
think
guess with the rise of the internet as well, everything's got a market for it. There's like a community dedicated to everything online, whether that be on Twitter, on Instagram, on Reddit, whatever it might be.
yeah.
There are people that will enjoy the same stuff that you do.
Yeah, but and that's what I'm thinking though. Are we losing, NFTs now are the things, and we've mentioned that in another podcast on cryptocurrency, but are we losing the physicality of collecting, which is why,
You did it in the first place.
yeah, and which is why maybe some of the things are coming back, like vinyl's coming back. I even hear now that tape cassettes are coming back. Which I don't know why. Even I stopped short of of the old music cassettes,
There's
but
just going to be loads of people on the bus with their finger in that hole,
yeah, a
rewinding their
pencil, yeah,
cassettes.
pencil turning around, and it's like so are we gonna slowly lose that kind of thing because it's more digital? But now you can still collect things digitally, but it is just for me anyway. It goes back to what we said about like even photos. Now it loses something because you have to log onto your laptop or whatever to find it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in 20 years' time what people are collecting.
God, imagine how many celebrities hair that bloke will have.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I see I'm done there on that. I think let's leave you with that celebrity hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you are listening to this and you do have any weird collections that you have yourself, not necessarily weird because I'm sure that you would love them, but some that are less mainstream, do let us know. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Casting Views, or you can pop us an email, castingviewspod@gmail.com. Let us know if you got on board with any of the fads and if you'd heard of any of the ones that we talked about that were a little less well known. And I will leave you, as always, with we know there are many podcasts from which you can choose, so we thank you for listening to Casting Views.